You awaken slowly. The air is heavy with the scent of smoke, salt, and pine. The year is 793. The place, a small settlement on the rugged coast of Norway. You find yourself lying on a hard wooden bench, inside a longhouse. Its walls curve inward, shaped like the hull of a great ship turned upside down. Above you, a small smoke hole allows a thin shaft of light to pierce the dim interior. In the center, the embers of last night's fire still glow faintly, casting soft, flickering shadows across the walls. Hanging there you see shields, spears, the tools of daily life and of war. Furs and woolen blankets cover the benches, offering some warmth against the chill, though far less than the beds of your own time. On the earthen floor, chickens peck and scratch. In harsher winters, even goats and cattle would be brought inside. For here, every resource, every creature is part of survival. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is without purpose. A woman with golden hair, braided intricately around her head, stands near the fire. She stirs a pot suspended above the glowing coals. Her dress is simple, of undyed wool, but an apron of blue cloth hangs over it, fastened at her shoulders with 2 bronze brooches. From these brooches hang strings of beads, and at her throat rests a small pendant shaped like a hammer, Thor's hammer, a symbol of protection and of faith. She glances at you with sharp, intelligent eyes. "You've slept long enough," she says, in words you somehow understand. "There is work to be done before the men return from the sea." You rub your eyes, trying to orient yourself, trying to place this new world. She hands you a bowl of steaming porridge. Barley and oats, sweetened with a swirl of honey. The taste is simple but filling. It warms you against the chill of the longhouse. Around you, others stir from their slumber. Children rub their eyes. An older woman sits at a loom in the corner, her fingers working patiently, endlessly, at the weaving of cloth. Life begins early here, and it never slows. The woman's name, you learn, is Astrid. Her husband, Leif, left at dawn to fish with the other men of the settlement. Now it is time for work. She places a spindle in your hands, a slender stick with a weight at the end. With practiced ease, she shows you how to pull wool into thread. Your clumsy fingers fumble, twisting unevenly, breaking the fibers. Astrid sighs. "Even a child knows this," she mutters, though not unkindly. "What household did you come from, that you never learned such things?" You mumble something vague, something about coming from far away. She does not press further. She only says firmly, "You are here now, and here everyone works. We survive together, or not at all." Outside, the settlement stirs to life. Children laugh as they chase chickens through muddy paths. Dogs bark and dart between them. Smoke rises from the roofs of longhouses, curling into the crisp morning air. Beyond the cluster of buildings lies the fjord, its waters shimmering beneath the rising sun. Anchored there, you glimpse the silhouettes of longships. Their dragon-headed prows watch over the village, silent guardians or silent threats, depending on who beholds them. As the day stretches on, you begin to notice a rhythm. The pounding of grain against stone to make flour. The crackle of fires as bread bakes on flat stones. The steady rhythm of looms, as women weave wool into long bolts of cloth. The goats must be milked, the children tended. There is never a pause, never an idle hand. Yet contrary to many tales you may have heard, these people value cleanliness. Each week, usually on Saturday, what they call lagerdagger, or washing day, the entire household bathes. Buckets of water are warmed with stones heated in the fire. Combs carved from bone or antler are carefully drawn through hair. Soap, made of animal fat mixed with ash, lathers easily. In an age when most of Europe bathes rarely, the Norse stand apart. To them, cleanliness is not vanity. It is pride. It is health. It is a mark of civilization. As afternoon approaches, a horn sounds from the shore. The villagers pause. Astrid sets aside her weaving, her face intent. "They are returning," she says. You follow her down the path toward the dock. There, small fishing boats glide into the shallows, their crews calling out in voices loud with cheer. They haul nets heavy with gleaming fish, cod, long and silver, pulled from the depths of the fjord. Children run forward, their laughter bright, eager to see the day's catch. Dogs bark and dance about, their noses twitching at the smell of the sea's bounty. The women gather with baskets, ready to carry the fish back for cleaning and salting. These are not the great longships you may imagine, the dragon-proud vessels that cross the seas in war and in trade. No. These are smaller, humbler boats, built for the fjords, for the coast, for the endless task of feeding a people who live on the edge of the world. Among the fishermen is Astrid's husband, Leif, tall, broad-shouldered, his beard red but streaked with gray. His arms are thick with muscle, his face weathered by salt and sun. He greets Astrid with a weary smile, pressing into her hands several large cod. "The sea was generous today," he says. "Njord has smiled upon us." Njord, the god of the sea, the bringer of fish, the guardian of sailors. Astrid nods, but then Leif's voice lowers. His expression grows darker. "While we were out," he says softly, "Bjorn's ship returned. He brought word from the south. The Franks are divided. Their kings quarrel among themselves. Their monasteries along the coast stand unguarded, filled with treasure, gold, silver, holy books, all left without walls, without swords to defend them." Astrid's eyes flicker. She says nothing, only glances at you, then back at her husband. The words hang heavy in the air. For this year, this very year, will be remembered as the beginning of a new age. The age of the Viking. Astrid's expression grows serious. She stirs the stew in silence for a moment, then looks up at her husband. "You're thinking of joining the raid, aren't you?" Leif glances quickly at you, as if only now remembering your presence. He says nothing, only mutters, "We'll speak of this later," before turning to help the other men unload their catch. Astrid leads you back inside. With quick, practiced hands, she begins filleting the fish. Her knife flashes in the firelight, separating flesh from bone with effortless precision. The best cuts are tossed into a pot to simmer. The rest are hung near the fire, where smoke will preserve them for the long weeks to come. She sets a pile of vegetables before you. Onions, carrots, and pale turnips. "Cut these," she instructs, handing you a small iron knife. You obey, slicing clumsily, while she works with the smooth economy of someone who has done this task since childhood. As the knife moves in her hand, Astrid speaks. Not idly, but with the quiet weight of someone confiding truths rarely voiced aloud. "My husband is a good man," she says, her eyes on the fish. "Respected here. We have land to farm. A boat of our own. For children who lived past infancy. That is more than many can claim." Her voice lowers further. But Leif, he dreams of more. He hears the stories. Of men who have crossed the Western Sea. Of silver brought back in sacks. Of thralls, slaves taken from foreign shores, made to work the fields and halls. He hears and he listens. She pauses, her knife flashing one last time before tossing another fillet into the pot. Her shoulders sag just slightly. "Do you think he will go?" she asks, almost to herself. You hesitate, sensing the weight of the question. Astrid does not wait for your answer. She only stirs the pot and whispers. "Men seek glory. It is their nature. And the gods reward the bold. Or so we are told." As evening falls, the longhouse fills with life. Neighbors arrive carrying gifts. Loaves of dense, dark bread, a clay jar of fermented milk, its sharp tang like sour yogurt, berries preserved in honey from last summer's harvest. Children dart between the benches. Dogs curl near the fire. The stew you helped prepare is ladled into wooden bowls. Astrid's youngest son, a boy of 12 with hair the same reddish hue as his father's, watches you curiously. His name is Eric. His eyes are sharp, full of questions he does not yet ask. Around the hearth, voices rise in laughter and song. Yet, beneath the warmth of food and fellowship, Another conversation grows. Low, urgent, carried on the deeper tones of the men seated near the fire. The Jarl says we will need at least 4 ships, one man muses, his beard thick, his fingers absently stroking it as he speaks. Enough men to overwhelm any resistance quickly. Another leans in, his voice warning. And good weather. The Western Sea is no fjord. It can swallow ships even in summer. The younger men laugh, careless, their eyes alight with hunger. The monks at their holy houses, one insists. They are no warriors. They will not fight back. An older voice cuts through the talk. Arsh, guard. The man's face bears a long, pale line from temple to jaw. His voice is steady, weary. Do not be so certain. Even a priest will fight when cornered. And their God, he is not like ours. They say he is powerful. The fire crackles. The men fall silent for a breath. Then, slowly, the talk shifts again. To numbers. To provisions. To the timing of departure. You listen, silent, realizing you are witnessing the birth of something far larger than the feast around you. The planning of one of the first raids upon the British Isles. An event that will echo through the centuries. Later, when the hall grows quieter and neighbors drift away into the night, Leif approaches you for the first time with direct intent. He studies you in the flickering light. His voice calm but probing. Astrid tells me you are from distant lands. Yet you speak our tongue. You hesitate, fumbling for an explanation. I have traveled far, you say at last carefully. And learned many languages on the way. Leif nods slowly. A traveler then. Perhaps you have seen the lands we speak of. The kingdoms across the Western Sea. When you do not answer, he waves the thought away. No matter. If you stay here you must work. Metal. Healing. Fighting. What can you do? Question stuns you. In your world, few are ever asked such things. Here it is a measure of survival. You manage at last. I can learn. Leif watches you for a long moment, then nods. Good. Tomorrow you will go to Gunnar the smith. He always needs hands for the bellows. Hard work, but it will earn your place. With that, he turns, leaving you with the embers, the silence, and your own racing thoughts. You settle onto the wooden bench once more. Your body aches from labor, from cutting and hauling, from the unyielding weight of this life. Yet your mind does not rest. This Viking Age is not what the stories promised. It is not endless battle. It is endless work. Planting, weaving, forging, fighting, yes, when needed, but only one part of the great struggle to endure the northern winters. And yet, beneath it all, there is something else. A current that hums beneath every word, every glance at the horizon. Restlessness, hunger. The men speak of silver, of ships, of distant lands. Their eyes gleam when they recall ancestors who vanished over the waves, and returned with wealth beyond imagining. As sleep claims you at last, you dream of dragon-headed ships. Their carved prows cut through black waves. Their sails billow red and white. And on their decks stand men with axes and shields, their voices lifted in songs of glory. You dream of a future written in blood and fire. Dawn comes with the crow of roosters and the pale light of morning filtering through the smoke hole. The settlement stirs again. Astrid tends the fire. Children rub sleep from their eyes. The smell of fish stew lingers. Today, as promised, you will work with Gunnar the smith. After a quick meal of bread and broth, Leif leads you to a low building apart from the others. Even before you enter, you hear it. The clang of iron on iron. The hiss of steam. The deep roar of fire. Heat washes over you as you step inside. Gunnar is a mountain of a man. His beard singed by sparks. His arms scarred and corded with muscle. He glances at you with doubt. This one, he scoffs, doesn't look strong enough to pump bellows for an hour. Leif shrugs. Everyone starts somewhere. And we need those axe heads finished before the ships sail. Gunnar grunts, then waves you forward. Come then. Let us see what you are made of. The forge is simple, yet alive. 3 walls of timber, the front open to the air. At its heart, a clay furnace glows like the sun, fed by charcoal. The bellows stand beside it, leather stretched over a wooden frame. Gunnar explains, his voice clipped and stern. When I say pump, you pump. Not too fast, not too slow. Too little air, the fire cools. Too much and the iron spoils. Understand? You nod. He turns back to his work. On the anvil lies an axe head, glowing red, nearly white. He raises his hammer, strikes, and sparks leap like fireflies. Pump, he commands. You grip the handles, forcing air into the furnace. The fire roars. Heat sears your skin. Sweat runs down your back. Gunnar's hammer falls again and again, each blow shaping the iron, taming it. You struggle, muscles burning, yet you keep the rhythm. Bump, bump, bump. Gunnar works in silence, his face set in grim focus. At last, he lifts the axe to the light. Not finished, but formed. He nods just barely. Not useless, he mutters. It is not praise, not yet. But in this world, it may be the beginning. The forge roars and breathes like a living thing. Gunnar works with steady rhythm, heat, hammer, quench, repeat. His tools are few. A hammer, punch for making holes, a handful of simple chisels. And yet, with these, he shapes iron into life-saving tools and weapons. He plunges a glowing axe head into a barrel of water. Steam hisses, swirling upward like ghostly shapes. Strong weapons mean survival, he says, his eyes never leaving the metal. A poor blade breaks when you need it most. A good one saves your life. To Gunnar, smithing is not only skill, but sorcery. As he works, he murmurs words, prayers, charms, invocations to the gods. To Thor, bringer of strength. To Odin, All-Father, who gave his eye for wisdom, who hung upon the world tree to gain the knowledge of the runes. Gunnar runs a finger along the glowing edge of a knife blade. The metal remembers every blow, he says. It remembers the fire, the water, the words spoken over it. These things give it strength, purpose. In his scarred hands, the line between craft and magic blurs. Each tool is both an object and a story. A blade is not just metal. It is memory. It is fate. By midday, your arms tremble, your back screams, yet you endure. Gunnar calls for a break, handing you a water skin and a bundle of dried meat and bread. As you eat, he talks more freely. He explains how iron is drawn from bogs or mined from the earth, and how it is mixed with carbon to form steel. He speaks of hardness and flexibility, of edges that must cut clean, and spines that must bend without breaking. He shows you spears, their sockets ready for ashwood shafts, shield bosses, hammered into domes of iron to guard the hands of warriors, small knives, simple but essential for every household, and larger weapons. Axes meant not for trees but for men. The ships will need 20 at least, he mutters. Not for wood, for blood. The casual way he says it chills you more than the forge's fire ever could. For Gunnar and for his people, violence is no crime. It is necessity. A blade is as vital as bread. When the day's work is finally done, your muscles scream with exhaustion. You stumble back to Leif and Astrid's longhouse, the smoke of the forge still clinging to your clothes. Astrid takes one look and nods approvingly. Gunnar worked you hard, she says, handing you a wooden cup. The liquid burns your throat, but spreads warmth through your weary body. Mead, fermented honey flavored with herbs. Tonight, the longhouse is busier than usual. Extra lamps burn. Women sit in groups, spinning wool, carding fibers, weaving sails on tall looms. The air hums with industry. Astrid explains. Ships need sails. Men need clothes. All must be ready before they depart. You sit among them, clumsy with the tools, yet grateful for the rhythm of their company. As hands work, tongues loosen. Stories flow as easily as gossip. One woman says, "They say the monastery at Lindisfarne has a roof that shines like gold." Another adds, "And books bound with jewels. Their god must be rich indeed." An older woman, her voice slow and sure, says, "Their god has one eye like Odin. But they say he died and came back to life." Another laughs softly, "Like Baldur will after Ragnarok." The older woman muses, "Perhaps all gods are the same god. Different faces for different peoples." Hush falls. Astrid warns her gently, "Careful, Sigrid. The gods hear all." At once the talk shifts, to ships, to men, to hunger. For though tales are treasured, survival comes first. Later, when the lamps burn low, a hush falls. An elder, hair white as snow, steps forward. He is a skald, a keeper of memory. His voice rises and falls in rhythm, weaving a poem older than anyone here. He speaks of Ymir, the giant whose body was slain by Odin and his brothers to form the world. Of Yggdrasil, the world tree, its branches stretching across all realms. Of Thor, who wields his hammer against giants. Of Odin, who gave his eye for wisdom. Of Loki, trickster and betrayer. The hall listens in silence. Children sit still, wide-eyed. These stories are more than songs. They are the bones of the world. The people live within them, shaped by them, bound to them. They explain why the sea rages, why crops fail, why courage is demanded. To live without these tales would be to drift without anchor, lost upon the endless sea. The night grows late, yet the work continues. Men drift in, carrying armfuls of wood for arrow shafts. Leif and young Eric sit together, father teaching son the shaping of the shaft, the carving of notches. Neighbors bring bows to be rest-wrung, shields to be mended. Music rises from a lyre, laughter mixing with the steady beat of labor. The longhouse feels like a living heart, pulsing with shared purpose. Yet beneath the warmth lies tension. The Jarl has called for a thing, an assembly of free men, to settle disputes and to decide. Raiding, sailing, fighting. At the thing, the voice of each man carries weight. There, the future will be chosen. As firelight flickers on the walls, Eric turns to his father. His voice is small but steady. "Will you go with the ships, father?" The question silences the room for a breath. Leif smiles, ruffling his son's hair. "I will go. They need a good pilot, one who knows the stars and the currents. And someone must watch these young fools who have never sailed beyond sight of their mother's apron strings." Laughter ripples gently through the hall, easing the weight of the question. But the truth remains. Raiding is dangerous. Not all who leave will return. "What about the farm?" Eric presses. "The crops need tending." Leif's gaze softens. "That will be your task, son. You are old enough now for a man's duty. Your mother will guide you. And Gunnar has promised to keep watch as well." Eric straightens, pride swelling in his young chest. For him, these words are more than chores. They are recognition, a step toward manhood. Astrid says nothing, only watches, her face unreadable in the shifting firelight. She knows what such journeys cost. She has seen who leaves, and who does not return. Later, when the guests depart and the fire burns low, you stay to help Astrid clear the longhouse. You gather cups and bowls, sweep straw and crumbs from the floor, bank the fire. For a long time she works silently, her hands moving with practiced ease. Then abruptly she speaks. "You heard what was said tonight. Leif will go with the ships." You nod, unsure of what comfort to offer. "He is a skilled navigator," she continues, almost to herself. "The best in the settlement. They need him." Her hands pause for only a heartbeat before moving again. Then softer she adds, "I have watched him sail away many times. But this is different. This is not trading where we are welcomed. This is taking what is not freely given." Her eyes rest on the glowing embers. "The gods set many paths before us. Some lead to glory, others to destruction. Sometimes you cannot tell which until it is too late. At dawn, your body aches with every movement, yet you return to Gunnar's forge. The work is no less demanding, but familiarity makes it easier. Today, the smith lets you take the hammer, guiding your hands as you shape heated iron into form. "You've got a feel for it," he grunts, which you quickly learn is high praise from this taciturn man. "With practice, you might make a decent apprentice." Your arms tremble, but pride steadies you. The rhythm of hammer and bellows, fire and water, becomes almost meditative. You are learning not just to survive here, but to belong. When the midday break comes, you wander to the shore. There life thrums with urgency. Men roll barrels of ale, flour, and dried meat down to the ships. Bundles of arrows and spears lie stacked, ready for battle. Shields painted in bold colors hang along the gunwales, each marking its owner's place. The longships themselves are breathtaking, sleek, narrow, and strong. The largest stretches nearly 80 feet, with room for 40 men at the oars. A single mast rises from her center, waiting for the square sail that will carry her west. Carved dragon heads and snarling beasts adorn the prows, warding off sea spirits and striking fear into enemies. Each ship has a soul, a name, a destiny. Their lives depend on them. "Beautiful, aren't they?" a voice says at your side. It is Leif, his gaze fixed on the largest vessel. His pride is plain. You nod. "I have never seen their like." Leif smiles, though it doesn't quite reach his eyes. "Nor have the people across the sea. Our ships can ride waters no deeper than a man's chest, yet cross oceans too. None can match them." You hesitate before asking, "Is that why you go?" "Because you can." Leif's face turns thoughtful. "We go because we must. The land is harsh, does not always give enough. But a man needs more than food. He needs purpose, a name worth remembering. The sagas remember the bold, not the cautious." He gestures toward the proud prow of the Seawolf. 4 ships, 30 men apiece. Enough to strike, and enough to flee if we must. We sail in 3 days, if Thor grants fair winds. His tone is steady, but you see the shadow of fear in his eyes. That evening, the whole settlement gathers near the Jarl's hall. A great fire roars in a stone-lined pit, its light flickering across a circle of expectant faces. Carved posts stand at the edge of the clearing. Odin with his spear and missing eye, Thor with his hammer, Freyr with symbols of fertility. The Jarl himself presides, a tall man of middle years, his cloak of bearskin fastened with silver, his beard finely braided. At his side stands a woman cloaked in white feathers, her eyes distant, her body swaying as though half in this world and half beyond. A Volva, a seeress, chosen to speak the gods' will. The Jarl raises his hands, calling to the gods. He asks for fair winds, for victory, for safe return. Then the Volva steps forward, chanting words in a tongue older than memory, her voice rising like the wind itself. Men bring forth an ox, its horns wound with summer flowers. With a swift stroke, the Jarl draws his blade across its throat. Blood flows into a wooden bowl. The Volva dips fir branches and sprinkles the gathered crowd. When she reaches you, her eyes lock onto yours, piercing and unreadable. She murmurs words you do not understand, words that feel as if they were meant only for you. Then she moves on, leaving you chilled and shaken. The ox is butchered where it fell. Choice cuts are burned for the gods, the rest roasted for the feast. The air fills with the smell of meat and smoke. Horns of mead and ale pass from hand to hand. The solemnity of the rite gives way to celebration. Music rises, drums and lyres echoing in the night. Men boast of past victories, or of glory yet to come. Oaths are sworn upon a heavy golden ring, promises to fight bravely, to share spoils fairly, to honor kin. You stay near Astrid, uneasy. She senses it and whispers, "The blot ties us to the gods. Without their blessing, the ships would be prey for giants, and worse things that dwell in the deep." Around you laughter and song swell. Yet beneath it all, the shadow of destiny hangs heavy. In 3 days, these men will sail into history. As the feast reaches its height, drums beat a steady rhythm. One by one, voices rise in song, until the night itself seems to thrum with music. A circle forms around the fire, hands linked, feet stamping in time. Someone pulls you into the dance, and soon you are moving with them. Strangers, yet not strangers. The heat of the fire, the rhythm of drums, the swirl of motion. It all blurs together into something greater than yourself. For a moment, you feel what they feel when they call upon their gods, that they belong to something vast and eternal. Later, weary yet exhilarated, you walk back to the longhouse with Astrid's family. The sky is a dark cloak scattered with frost-like stars. Leaf points upward, naming the constellations. The North Star, steadfast guide. The Wain that leads travelers westward. The stars are the same in every land, he says softly. No matter how far we go, they watch over us. Constant as the gods. You follow his gaze. The very same stars shine in your own time. For an instant, you feel a bridge across centuries. A reminder that humanity has always searched for meaning in the endless dark. The next 2 days pass in a whirlwind. The forge never cools, as Gunnar repairs blades and shapes spearheads. Your own hands grow calloused, your arms stronger from the ceaseless hammering and bellows. Across the settlement, every craft is pressed into service. Woodworkers fashion oars and mend hulls. Women sew warm clothing and pack dried meat and flour. Children carry bundles, eager to help. The air hums with tension, both fear and excitement. Everyone knows what is coming. On the third morning, you wake to the blast of a horn echoing across the fjord. The day has come. Hastily breaking your fast, you join the others on the beach. 4 ships wait in the still water, fully laden and ready. Shields hang along the gunwales, gleaming in the morning light. Each prow bears a snarling beast, wolf, dragon, serpent, alive with color and menace. Warriors gather with their families, saying farewells. Some laugh, boasting loudly to mask their fear. Others cling to their loved ones in silence. The air is thick with the mingling of pride and dread. Leif embraces Astrid tightly, then kneels before Eric. His voice is steady, but his eyes glisten. Watch over your mother. The farm is in your hands until I return. The boy nods fiercely, though his lip trembles. I will, father. May Thor protect you. Leif ruffles his son's hair, then rises and turns toward his ship. His hand lifts in farewell, but he does not look back again. His duty, like the sea, calls him onward. The Jarl steps forward, tall and commanding, standing at the prow of the Sea-Wolf. His cloak snaps in the wind, his polished helmet catching the sun. His voice carries over the water. Today we sail toward a new future. Our ancestors followed the sea, trading with distant lands. Now we go further. The gods themselves have shown us the way. They sail beside us. A great cheer rises from the crowd. He raises his arms again. Those who stay keep our homes strong. The work of field and hearth is as vital as the clash of steel. When we return, the celebration will honor all. Another cheer thunders across the fjord, as if to urge the ships forward. With a blast of the horn, the time has come. Warriors take their benches, oars dipping into the water. Others push the ships free from the shallows. Slowly at first, then gathering speed, the vessels glide into the fjord. Dragon prows cut the waves. Shields flash in the sun. Voices ring out. Farewells, blessings, cries of pride. Children and women run along the shore, waving until the ships round a bend and vanish from sight. And then silence. A silence as heavy as stone. Astrid exhales deeply, then sets her jaw. The fields won't plow themselves, she says briskly. And so life shifts. The settlement reorganizes itself. The absent men leave holes, and those holes must be filled. Boys like Eric shoulder grown men's work. Old men advise where strength fails them. Women manage farms and households with quiet authority. The rhythm of life continues, changed yet unbroken. You return to the forge. Gunnar, who remains behind, has more to teach. You learn to judge iron by its glow. Dull red, workable. Bright yellow, too soft. White, dangerous. You learn to temper blades. making them both hard and flexible. You even learn to etch simple patterns into steel, turning tools into art. A knife must be useful, Gunnar says, striking his hammer. But beauty honors the gods who gave us this gift. With every passing day, your hands grow harder, your skills sharper. You are no longer merely a guest. You are becoming part of this world. Evenings in the longhouse continue as before, with tales of gods and heroes. Each story carries lessons: courage, loyalty, wisdom, and the peril of pride. The children lean forward, their eyes round in the firelight, learning what it means to belong. You begin to see the rhythm of these stories, how they teach as well as entertain, weaving the threads of community tighter with every retelling. 2 weeks after the ships have sailed, the storm comes. Rain lashes the longhouse roof, wind shrieks through the gaps, and thunder shakes the earth like the wheels of Thor's chariot. He fights the giants tonight, the skald murmurs. Children huddle close, thrilled and afraid. Even grown men trace Thor's hammer across chest and shoulders, seeking his protection. Eric's voice cuts through the howl of the storm. The ships, will they be safe? Silence follows. No one can say. Silent prayers rise like smoke, names whispered into the storm, begging the gods for mercy. By morning the storm has passed. The damage is plain. Roofs torn, coops overturned, fields drowned. Yet no one complains. Tools are fetched, beams set upright, thatch replaced. There is no order shouted, no leader giving commands. Work flows as naturally as the tide. Each family tends its own, Astrid explains. But if one suffers, all suffer. We help today, for tomorrow we may need help ourselves. You see it everywhere. Food shared, medicine given freely, grudges set aside. Imperfect, yes, but bound together by necessity. The weeks creep by. You work at the forge, at the fields, at the hearth. Gunnar shows you more of his craft, your muscles remembering tasks your mind once found impossible. Astrid guides Eric as he shoulders his father's duties, the boy's pride growing with each small success. Yet in every quiet moment, eyes turn toward the sea. Days lengthen, then shorten. Still no word. Then at last a cry. A boy posted at the fjord's mouth sprints through the fields. Ships returning. Tools are dropped, tasks abandoned. The whole settlement runs, hearts pounding, to the shore. And there they are. 4 dragon prows cutting the waves, all accounted for. Relief breaks like sunlight across the crowd. But joy falters as the ships draw close. One sits low, waterlogged. Another patched with raw planks. And everywhere, empty spaces where men should stand. The first men ashore are met with embraces and tears. Some reunions bring laughter, others only grief. You stand with Astrid and Eric, scanning every face until there. Leaf thinner, weary, helping a wounded comrade. Astrid cries out and rushes forward, embracing him fiercely. Eric presses close, blinking back tears. Leaf holds them both, his weathered face etched with exhaustion and pride. "You've grown," he tells his son, measuring his height with his hand. To Astrid, only silence and the grip of one who knows how close he came to being lost. Soon bundles are heaped upon the shore. Cloth, tools, grain, salt. Silver coins and ornaments glint in the sun. Not only wealth, but captives too. Men, women, children, led from the ships with lowered eyes. Thralls, destined for fields and hearths. You recoil, but Leaf speaks plainly. We need more hands. They will learn our ways, and perhaps earn freedom in time. His voice is steady, but the gulf between your world and his yawns wide. For them, slavery is no evil, only survival. The Jarl climbs the bow of Seawolf. His voice rings out. The gods favored us, though not without cost. 5 men to the storm. 3 to the monks who dared defend their temple. Their names will be sung in saga. Murmurs of grief ripple through the crowd. Families draw together. The Jarl continues. But our success outweighs our loss. The temple was rich beyond measure. We took gold, silver, books, and captives. And we learned of more such places, equally vulnerable. Cheers erupt. The seed has been planted. Tonight a feast. Tomorrow division of spoils. Next summer more ships. More raids. That night, the settlement gathers in the Jarl's Hall, the largest building you have yet seen. Long tables sag beneath bread, ale, and roasted meat. Exotic flavors spice familiar dishes, brought back across the sea. The hall resounds with laughter, song, and the pounding of cups upon wood. New thralls serve alongside old. Children gape at treasures displayed openly, silver arm rings gleaming in firelight. At the high table, the Jarl presides, his wife directing the feast with firm authority. Then silence falls. The skald rises, voice solemn, words echoing like the tide. He names the dead. Each man's courage woven into verse, each death turned into song. Horns are raised in their honor, mead spilled upon the floor as an offering. Families weep quietly, but pride steadies their grief. These men died as heroes. Their names will live, sung long after bones turn to dust. You sit among them, Astrid, Eric, and Leif. His arm bandaged, his spirit unbroken. You share bread baked from foreign grain, drink ale brewed far across the sea. Around you, the hall resounds with voices, grief, triumph, determination. The Viking Age has begun in earnest. These raids will not be the last. But for this night, there is only firelight, fellowship, and the certainty that you have lived through the first sparks of an age that will reshape the world. The voyage began under uncertain skies. Waves lashed against the hulls of our longships, and the wind threatened to tear our sails from their moorings. For nearly 2 weeks, we navigated a vast, merciless sea, our eyes straining against fog and storm alike. Each night, we huddled in the boats, listening to the roar of water and the creak of timbers, hearts beating in rhythm with the waves. The storm that nearly claimed one of our ships was a cruel reminder of nature's power, a sudden squall that tossed our vessel, threatening to swallow it whole. Yet we pressed onward, driven by the promise of treasure and glory. And then, after nearly 14 days at sea, land appeared, thin and ethereal in the dawn light. A sense of relief washed over us, tempered by anticipation. There it stood, the monastery, perched on an island connected to the mainland by a narrow causeway, a path that vanished under the tide's rising waters. We timed our approach carefully, waiting for the high tide to bring our ships close, yet still shrouded in the dim morning light to hide our movements. The monastery itself was a humble fortress of faith, its stone walls weathered by years of wind and salt. There were no warriors to defend it, only monks clad in rough woolen robes. Some grasped farming tools or kitchen knives in desperate defiance, but they were no match for us. Most fled, their faces pale with fear, surrendering to the inevitable. And yet, their greatest treasures were not gold or silver, but their books, pages of thin parchment, covered in tiny, careful script, bound in covers adorned with gold and jewels. The monks clutched them with tears in their eyes, mourning what they could not protect. Our landing was swift, a quiet storm of determination. We moved like shadows over the causeway, and by the time the monks comprehended our approach, it was already too late. There was no real battle, only the scattering of those untrained in the ways of war. Yet, in the wake of our success, treasures of gold and silver filled our ships, and the rarest spoils were the illuminated manuscripts, bound in gold and jewel-encrusted covers. They would tell stories of faith and knowledge long after the echoes of our axes had faded from the island. As we celebrated our victory, a young girl approached. Ethelade, barely 14, moved with careful, hesitant steps. A bruise marred her cheek, a healing cut on her hand. Perhaps these were marks of her capture or the journey to our camp. Leif, showing unexpected gentleness, touched her arm and asked her name. Her voice barely audible, she whispered Ethelade. Finding it too difficult to pronounce, Leif gave her a simpler name, Fade. And so, she continued her work, pouring ale and serving our warriors, the first of many adjustments to a life suddenly uprooted. The hall erupted in celebration. Ale flowed freely, laughter echoed, and warriors reenacted their deeds, sometimes with exaggerated flair. The skald composed verses on the spot, ensuring that bravery and cleverness were forever etched in song. Music rose from simple instruments, drums, flutes of bone and wood, and dancers leaped and twirled between tables. Children, eager to imitate, stumbled and laughed until exhaustion claimed them, carried to furs laid along the walls. The Jarl, seated high above, observed, his power solidified by the success of the raid and the wealth he would distribute. Late in the evening, the Velva appeared. Her feather cloak seemed to glide across the hall, her brass-topped staff jingling softly with each step. Silence fell. "The gods have spoken," she proclaimed, her voice carrying in the hush. "They are pleased with our offerings and our courage. Odin welcomes the fallen into Valhalla." Families of those lost in battle felt relief, knowing their loved ones had achieved eternal honor. Yet the Velva's tone shifted, caution threading her words. Success brought new dangers. Pride could blind some to the truth that victory comes from the favor of the gods, not mere human strength. She fixed her gaze on the Jarl, her warning both weighty and subtle, yet met with solemn acceptance. Next to me, Gunnar the smith remained sober, observing rather than participating. He asked what I thought of our Viking ways. It was a question that caught me off guard. "Right or wrong?" I asked, thinking of the raid. Gunnar's face was thoughtful in the dim light. "Right, wrong. Those words are complicated," he said. "Was it necessary? Probably. Famine had struck 3 seasons in a row, and the fish stocks in our waters were declining. Hunger weighed heavily on our people. Now, thanks to the raid, they eat, and their families endure the harsh winter." He gestured to the thralls. Some lives changed for the worse, yet many would integrate into the community, grow up alongside our people, and contribute to a new chapter in our story. As the night deepened, the hall gradually quieted. Warriors drifted to sleep on furs, the youngest thralls already resting from exhaustion. Outside, the moon reflected off the still waters, a serene contrast to the chaos of the day. In this quiet, the enormity of the raid, its risks, and its rewards settled upon all of us. Our journey had begun with storm and peril, and yet it ended in abundance and stories to be told for generations. The weight of history pressed gently, inviting reflection on courage, necessity, and the fragile line between triumph and hubris. And so, the tale concludes, not with glory alone, but with the truths of human endeavor. Storms, struggle, and strategy shaped our actions. Fear, courage, and wisdom guided us. In the flickering light of fires and torches, we celebrated not just plunder, but the fragile persistence of life and community. And as the long ships rest, awaiting the next journey, we are reminded that history is never merely written. It is lived day by day, wave by wave, raid by raid. As the feast finally winds down, you walk back with Leif, Astrid, and their family. Their household has grown, joined now by Fade, the young English girl taken as a thrall. She follows silently a few paces behind. The night is clear, the stars brilliant in the northern sky. Torches at crossroads cast soft pools of light on the worn paths of the settlement. Eric, though weary from the long celebration, remains restless with excitement. He peppers his father with questions about foreign lands, about the ships, about the fighting. Leif answers patiently, softening the harsher truths for young ears. Astrid, by contrast, walks in silence, her thoughts turned inward. Later, near the banked fire, Astrid speaks softly. "Things will change now," she whispers. "This success will bring more raids, more wealth, and more danger. What kind of world are we creating for our children?" Leif has no easy answer. He places a gentle hand on her shoulder. "The world is always changing," he replies. "We must change with it or be left behind." They sit together, gazing into the glowing embers, as if seeking glimpses of the future in the dying flames. As you settle onto your bench, sleep slow to come, you reflect on what you've witnessed. This first successful raid at Lindisfarne will ripple outward through time, reshaping not only Norse society but much of Europe. The Vikings will establish settlements in England, Ireland, Normandy, and even as far as Russia and Constantinople. Their influence will be felt in language, in law, in art, and in trade. They will be remembered both as destroyers and as builders, raiders, and explorers. And all of it begins here, with ships laden in plunder, with a feast celebrating victory, with plans forming for the next summer's voyage. This is the birth of the Viking Age. The morning after the feast brings solemn ceremony. The entire settlement gathers before the Jarl's hall for the division of spoils. This is more than the sharing of wealth. It is a public performance that reinforces bonds of loyalty and hierarchy. The Jarl declares the formula: 1/3 for the ships and families of the fallen, 1/3 divided among the warriors, and 1/3 at his discretion. None question this arrangement. It is a system older than memory, rooted in fairness and necessity. Leif, as both shipowner and navigator, receives a substantial share. Silver arm rings, a finely crafted Frankish sword, and bolts of English wool finer than any woven in the fjords. "The cloth is for you," he tells Astrid. The sword, he promises, will one day belong to Eric. The boy's eyes widen. Inheritance of weapons is not just practical, but a sacred mark of lineage and continuity. Thralls, too, are distributed. The Jarl takes first choice of strong men and skilled women, the rest divided among households. Families are split without ceremony. A mother torn from her daughter. Fade, already bound to Leif's household, watches silently, her face carefully blank. Behind that expression, you sense the weight of memory. Family, home, all now beyond her reach. Summer stretches long and bright in the north. Fields of barley and rye sway in the wind. Women tend crops, children gather berries, and men fish the fjord. Life returns to its rhythms. Yet beneath the calm lies change. The new wealth has elevated some, reshaped alliances, and hinted at futures yet unseen. Your own days are spent in Gunnar's forge. The smith is gruff but patient, his hands sure with the hammer and tongs. Iron remembers, he tells you, folding glowing metal. Every blow, every heat and quench shapes it. People are the same. Our experiences temper us, make us strong or brittle. His wisdom lingers, spoken not as poetry, but as truth hammered into steel. Fade, once silent and withdrawn, begins to find her place. Her weaving skills prove valuable, her quick grasp of Norse language born of necessity. Though not treated as an equal, she is given firm but not cruel guidance by Astrid. Even Eric grows protective, chasing off boys who mocked her. She belongs to our household, he declares, a possessive statement, yet one that grants her a fragile kind of safety. It is a complicated bond, neither wholly benevolent nor purely exploitative. One evening by the stream, Fade speaks more freely. Northumbria, she says carefully, naming her home. Her father was a craftsman, a maker of books. At the mention of her family, her voice falters. Dead now, she says, cutting off further questions. Then, after silence, she adds, "It helps to work. If I am useful, perhaps someday." Her meaning is clear. In Norse lands, thralls who prove their worth can sometimes gain freedom. Her words remind you that history is not just the march of armies, but the quiet resilience of individuals, each with hopes, griefs, and strategies for survival. As summer peaks, the Jarl calls an assembly. Success at Lindisfarne has whetted appetites. Men speak eagerly of new targets in England, Scotland, and Ireland. Some demand more ships, others call for training of young warriors. Debate flows, each voice carrying weight, but no single ruler commands alone. Decisions emerge through persuasion and consensus. In the end, the settlement agrees. More ships will be built through winter, more warriors trained, more voyages planned. The Viking Age has begun in earnest. And so, life continues. New ships rise on the shore, warriors sharpen their blades, children play in the fields, and thralls weave cloth in longhouses. But the course is set. What began as survival has become expansion. From these fjords, The Norse will sail to every corner of Europe, remembered in legend and feared in truth. You have witnessed not just a raid, not just a feast, but the awakening of a people whose story will echo through the centuries. As autumn approaches, the pace of life in the Viking settlement quickens. Harvests must be gathered, fish caught and preserved, meat smoked or salted, fruits and vegetables stored for the long northern winter. Every hand contributes. Even children and elders find their part in the rhythm of survival. The swing of a scythe through golden grain, the gathering of sheaves, the steady beat of threshing. Though the work is hard, it is shared, lightened by songs, stories, and laughter. The old skald, too frail now for heavy labor, rests in the shade and entertains with tales of ancestors. For generations, the harvest has been both duty and celebration, a time when the community gathers together to prepare for the dark months ahead. As the days grow shorter and the air turns crisp, thoughts turn toward the coming winter solstice. Known as Joel or Yule, it marks the longest night of the year and the sun's slow return. Preparations begin weeks in advance. Bread is baked in sacred shapes. Ale is brewed stronger than usual. Meat is set aside from the autumn slaughter. Evergreen boughs are hung, symbols of life that endures even in winter's grip. The longhouses are scrubbed, made ready for celebration and for reverence. On the night of Yule, the settlement awakens before dawn and celebrates until long past midnight. A towering bonfire rises into the winter sky, its flames meant to strengthen the sun itself. The Jarl offers a boar to Freyr, god of fertility and prosperity, asking for blessings in the year to come. The feast is greater even than that which welcomed the raiders home. Roasted meats, fruits, breads, cheese, and honey sweets overflow the tables. Ale and mead flow freely, their warmth part of the sacred rite. Children carry torches through the night, their laughter a symbol of light's return to a darkened world. Couples slip away, their unions during this sacred time believed to be blessed by the gods. And the old tales are told again, of how even in Asgard, the gods themselves hold Yule feasts, linking mortal and divine. Near midnight, at the deepest part of winter's darkness, solemn rituals begin. The Jarl and his leading men place their hands upon a sacred ring dedicated to Freyr. They swear oaths, to protect the settlement, to uphold the law, to honor the gods. These promises are both spiritual and social, binding leaders to their people and their people to one another. Leif too steps forward, swearing to lead one of the ships in the raids to come. Eric watches with longing, knowing his day has not yet come, but dreaming of the time when he will also swear such oaths. As snow covers the fields and daylight lasts only a few hours, life moves indoors. Yet the longhouses remain alive with purpose. Men fashion ship timbers, shaping dragon-headed prows for spring. Women weave wool into strong, warm cloth. Children learn by watching, and soon their small hands join in the tasks. Evenings bring stories, songs, and games. The skald tells of gods and heroes, but also of ancestors, keeping memory alive. Dice rattle. Strategy games sharpen young minds. Far from being crude or barbaric, their lives hold poetry, art, and skill, woven deep into the fabric of survival. Over time, you find your place among them. Gunnar speaks of taking you as his apprentice come spring, a path toward independence. Yet with belonging comes conflict. You join rituals for gods you know will fade before Christianity. You prepare tools for raids that will bring suffering. And always, the thralls remind you of the human cost. One night, as you lie awake, you see young Fade, her face streaked with silent tears. Her grief is private but undeniable. It sharpens the question you cannot escape. If you join a raid, will you merely observe history? Or will you become part of its cruelty? The night shatters with the blast of horns. Raiders, 3 ships from the south. Irony bites deep. Raiders themselves now raided. The longhouse erupts into chaos. Women and children gather what they can, ready to flee into the forest. Men arm themselves with sword, spear, or axe. The Jarl calls commands, calm even as blood stains his arm. "We defend the hall," he declares, "for within it lies treasure, the riches of Lindisfarne." And so, the defenders prepare to stand. Leif leads you to a hidden place by the path. "Hold together," he orders. "Let them come to us. We know this ground." They do not. Shapes move in the dark. The signal is given. Arrows streak through night. 2 raiders fall. Third stumbles. Then steel meets flesh. The fight is not like the tales. It is chaos. Desperate. A sword thrust to the gut. An axe to the face. A spear in the thigh. The aim is not honor. It is survival. You hang back until one raider breaks through, charging straight for you. Your axe strikes his arm, but still he comes. Then from nowhere Eric, too young yet desperate, drives a spear into his side. The raider crumples. The boy stares at what he has done. His first kill. His breath comes in gasps. I killed him," he whispers, torn between horror and pride. You grip his shoulders. "You saved me," you tell him. "Breathe. Stay focused. We are still in danger." Wave after wave drives the defenders back toward the hall. Shields line its walls. Men guard every entrance. Inside, the Jarl directs with steady voice. "They want our treasure," he says. "They think us weak from Yule feasting. But they will find only steel waiting for them." His words harden every man's heart. For this hall, for their families, for their gods, they will fight to the last. The cry goes up. The enemy is withdrawing. Their ships slip back into the night, leaving the settlement shaken but standing. Yet there is no celebration. Could be a trick. They might return. The Jarl commands vigilance. Scouts scour the ground, searching for stragglers or ambush. At dawn, the cost of survival is clear. 6 defenders lie cold in death. A dozen more nurse wounds. The enemy left 8 of their own dead behind. And 2 too broken to move. Now captives, they may live only if fate and the healer's hands allow. Several homes lie burned. Stores of food have been plundered or destroyed. Animals are missing. But the greatest prize, the treasure of Lindisfarne, remains safe within the Jarl's hall. A somber ceremony follows. The bodies of the fallen are prepared with care, armed as they were in life. The Jarl speaks of each man, recounting his virtues, his deeds, his kin. Their names are woven into memory, preserved by the skalds who watch and listen. They feast now in Valhalla, the Jarl proclaims, honored guests at Odin's table. His words offer comfort to the grieving, pride to the community. Eric, still shaken from his first kill, stands taller as he is named among the defenders. His father, Leif, watches him with eyes of pride and worry, knowing the boy has stepped irrevocably toward manhood. In the days that follow, sorrow gives way to action. People rebuild. New timbers replace burned ones. The palisade is reinforced. Watches are doubled. Horns are tested again and again, to ensure the alarm will sound swifter next time. The Jarl addresses the assembly. "We have seen what happens to those who grow rich but weak. Let us be both, prosperous and powerful, feared enough that others think twice before striking. In this harsh land, with no kings to enforce peace, security must be forged by one's own hands. For you, the raid brings clarity. You felt the weight of violence. You saw its toll in blood and tears. So when Leif asks again if you will join his ship in the summer, you choose your words carefully. I serve better here, you say. With Gunnar, making what our people need at home. Instead of disappointment, Leif shows understanding. Not all are meant for the raiding life. The settlement needs crafters as much as warriors. His words mark a turning point. You are no longer a guest. No longer an uncertain outsider. You are part of their world, with a place defined and accepted. Spring arrives. The fjord thaws. Days grow long again. Fields are plowed and planted. But the greatest labor is by the shore. Their 6 new ships take form. Their timbers seasoned through the winter now rise into sleek hulls, longer and stronger than before. Each prow is carved with ferocious dragon heads, meant to terrify distant shores before the men even set foot upon them. Soon, the fleet will carry nearly 200 warriors across the sea. This will not be a small raid, but an expedition of ambition. Eric longs to sail. He argues, pleads, even shouts. But his father is unyielding. The farm needs you. Your mother needs you. Prove you can master these duties. Next year, we will speak again of raiding. Eric's face burns with frustration, but the decision is final. Astrid's relief is plain, though she hides it behind steady composure. In this world, glory calls early, but not yet for the boy. As the ships near completion, the forge never sleeps. Weapons must be mended, fittings forged for oars and sails, tools prepared for voyages long and uncertain. You work until your arms ache, until every strike of the hammer echoes in your dreams. Each piece you finish may shape the fate of those who sail. On the eve of departure, the vulva appears once more. A sacrifice is made, blood sprinkled on warriors and weapons, binding them to the gods. Oaths are sworn again, to obey, to be brave, to uphold their honor. The Jarl speaks with confidence. The gods favored us before. They will favor us again if we prove worthy. We sail not just for ourselves, but for our families, our settlement, our ancestors who watch from Odin's hall. His words carry into the night, heavy with expectation. At dawn the fleet departs. 6 dragon ships, sails catching the morning light. Oars rise and fall in perfect rhythm. The warriors' faces mix eagerness, determination, and hidden fear. On the shore, Astrid stands with Eric and with you. Together you watch until the ships vanish into the bend of the fjord. Silence follows. A silence broken only by Astrid's words. And now we wait. We work. We prepare for their return, as women always have, while men seek glory in distant places. Her voice carries the truth of Norse life. Survival depends on both, those who leave and those who remain. Summer passes. Weeks stretch into months, with no word from the fleet. Then one clear day, the lookout calls. Sails on the horizon. People run to the shore. All 6 ships return, their dragon heads proud above the waves. Cheers erupt. Relief floods the air. But something is different. The ships carry not only plunder, but women and children, household goods, new faces, and the warriors themselves bear deeper scars than before. This was no quick raid. It was something larger. Leif steps ashore, thinner, wearier but alive. He clasps Astrid, then Eric. Finally he grips your arm. His smile holds pride and shadows. Much to tell, he says quietly. This journey has changed everything. And so it has. They did not merely raid monasteries. They struck settlements. They built a winter camp on an island off Scotland's coast. They mapped new lands, new defenses, new opportunities. They brought not just plunder but knowledge. The Viking Age has begun in truth. That night, fires blaze across the settlement as tales are told. Stories of distant shores, of battles hard won, of treasures claimed. Yet beyond the gold and silver, the true prize is knowledge. Knowledge that will carry Norse ships farther and farther. To England, to France, to Ireland, to Iceland and Greenland. Even centuries ahead, to the shores of North America. The world is changing. And you are here to witness it.